Evening, everybody. It's 5:26 on Monday afternoon, December the 4th, and this is your closing comment video number 1996. Getting awfully close to that 2000. Okay, let's start with the biggest movers of the day, and the first one has to go to the gold. Um, I want to show you, I'll show you in a second, but we actually went up as high as a new all-time high at 2152 and small change and came all the way back down to 2038. That's $104. That's a 5% range on the day. And we closed at 2042.20, which was down 47 and a half. And if you look at this, you'll see this is not all that unusual. The first time it made a new all-time high, it closed not down on the day, but certainly well off the high. Same situation here and now here. But I want to give you a look at the daily, because this is a weekly, so that you can see just how extreme this move has been. We've gone from 1823 on the low in 9 weeks up to 2152. That's an 18% move in 9 weeks, 2% a week to the upside. And, we had this whole little area of consolidation and the test of the breakout. And of course, bouncing off the 200. This is the 200 day. Let's go back to the weekly for a second. And here you see it's the 200 week, and it was pretty much a straight line up. In a perfect world, what would we do now? Well, we'd probably come down to the point of breakout or a little further. Let's call it maybe 1970, 1975, right on top of the moving averages. And I think we're still set up. I know we were very overbought, but today's close takes a little bit off that. But look at the MACD. It's just rolling to the positive side here after crossing in the middle of that move. So we'll have to see. I wouldn't get shorted. I think it's going much, much higher. Just a matter of how long it takes to consolidate this move. Okay, the next one, Bitcoin, closed 39,000 and change on Friday of last week, gapped up right through the recent highs after this running correction, gapped up here, left a gap between 39,650 and 4220. I don't usually like to see gaps. They tend to be, sometimes they're breakaway gaps like here. But, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they just have to be filled. And we're pretty overbought here. This is the RSI. We're very overbought here. Again, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we had the crossover, and we still are nowhere near peaking in the MACD. So, this one I'm going to sit and watch. We had the 5 go through the 20 go through the 50, and now we're about to have the 100 go through that 50, or pardon me, have the 50 go through the 100 back to the upside. This is all about exposure, people feeling more comfortable with it. You have to also remember that if ETFs come in here that are going to track this, they have to be active traders in these futures. And as long as there's more money coming in, there's going to be more buying power required. And this will feed on itself a bit. As you can see, it did here when it basically went from 40 to 62,000 in 5 weeks. Okay, news today. We had factory orders. They were a huge miss. Last month was down 3. They were expecting that. Uh, and last month was revised to be a little worse than it was, but this was a 3.6. That's the worst factory orders number since March of 2020, when the country basically got shut down. So, also, we had a fair amount of merger activity today. I told you this morning we had Alaska buying Hawaiian Air. Um, there's a big question on the street's point of view as to whether or not the DOJ will allow this. So, Hawaiian, which closed at $4 and change, or $3 and change, closed today $14.22, up 936 or 193%, while Alaska closed 3407, down 566 or 14.3%. There really isn't that much overlap here, and the deal makes sense from the standpoint of convenience for the traveler. But, this is Sleepy Joe's Department of Justice, so, who knows? Also, today we had a second one, Silver, SSNV. Um, I'm going to have to check and see what the exact name of that is. Silver Sun Technology. This is another little one, closed Friday at $3.67. And it's being taken over. By the way, the price on the Alaskan deal is 18. Silver Sea is the chairman of XPO, making a $1 billion investment in SSNT, giving the shareholders a $2.5 million dividend, which on the 5 million shares that are outstanding, a half a buck, which is not overwhelming. However, he's also giving them back the piece of the company that he's not interested in. So the company will continue to exist. I don't really know what the particulars are, but this one went from 367's close yesterday, traded as high as 1380, and the last was 1093, up 726. So another one that was up, 200%. We had Uber going into the S&P. It traded as high as 61, but closed up on the day, but back down at 58.86, up $1.50 after being up 4. That another one of the little ones that I mentioned this morning, two of them. iPoint, EYPT. It had closed at 485. If you remember, I told you this one had been reversed twice, one for 10 and one for 4. So the adjusted high on this is $661. This is the company that has the treatment for wet macular age-related macular degeneration. As I said, it got up as high as 34.75. In the real world, once the market actually opened, the high was 22.44, but it did close at 19.77, and that was up pretty substantially, 197%. 1316 was the close. Was the change. Also, ATHE, Aurelia. This is a company that has a um, Parkinson's drug. This morning, it got up as high as, I believe, $8. In the real world, the high for the day was 544, a low of 355. It closed at 405, up 239 or 144%. Tomorrow, we have nothing before the open, but we do have three pieces of economic news. Um, let's see, at 9:45, we have final November global U.S. services PMI. And then at 10 o'clock, we have November ISM non-manufacturing PMI. And then after that, after the at 10 o'clock, we also have the JOLTS. Those are the job openings. Market was weak from the start, but it was a split at the close. The Dow was down 41 after being down 200. That was pretty close to the high, even though it was down. NASDAQ was down 119.54 or 0.84%, but it too closed on the high of the day. The S&P closed a little off the high of the day, but it was down 24 and change. The Russell up 1937 or 1%, a little over 1%. And the transports were up 61.85. That was about mid range on those, up 0.4%. Advanced declines were even on the NYSE, 6 to 5 up on the NASDAQ. And the one thing that was fairly impressive today was the volume. The volume was 6.3 billion. And, as I remind you, that was well above recent numbers, which have gotten down into the low 4 billions. So, um, I guess we'll see what it looks like first thing in the morning. Hope everyone had a good day. We took a little bit of a profit. Actually, we have a little bit of a profit in our position in CAG. Conagra was up about 60 cents today. We own the 28 calls, and the stock traded a little over 29 today. So we're in the money with basically 2 weeks to run. All right, folks, I'll be back in the morning.